Hello everybody, my name is Gary Omis, and welcome to the debut video on my channel. I wish to talk about my favorite pastime. This pastime happens to be PC games. Now lately in the games industry, there have been a lot of changes lately. The very large AAA devs seem to be looking for whatever cash they can get their hands on, and the indie market has sprouted up very quickly. Now when it comes to indie games, these are games that are developed by a small group of people. The sizes of these studios generally range from 2 to maybe 12 developers, with no publisher involved in the process. And these games tend to range from multiple hours of fun to games that you just want to win just to win them, and then games that are so bad you can't stand playing past the first couple of levels. Now, this has also happened with AAA titles as well, but it's more prominent in the indie market just because there's more. The video of the game that you are watching right now is one of those games that I couldn't stand playing past the first couple of levels. It is by a developer by the name of DNS Development. They have made several games in the past, including this one, which goes by the name of Dead Horde. It's a top-down zombie shooter that was released in 2011. So why am I talking about this in 2013, you ask? Well, because at the beginning of this year, DNS released another game by the name of Primal Fears. And what was this game? Well, just looking at the trailers, I could tell you that it is Dead Horde all over again. But this time, there have been a few changes. Some of the things that made Dead Horde difficult in the first place, they simply added to and made it worse with Primal Fears. There's larger distances between checkpoints. There are far more enemies. Your guns do far less damage, and you can't do a rolling dive to escape. This information has been provided by a video made by a man who goes by Total Biscuit, back when the game came out earlier this year. The video is in the description below, link to the video, so I recommend you check that out. You know, this is really kind of interesting, because I'm wondering where this idea of remake the same thing and hope for a different result comes from. Like, first you have a developer, and they make a weak game that is co-op if your friends want to play, and second, if the game isn't received very well the first time, for example, Dead Horde, it wasn't very well received, and unless you had friends who were specifically online with you at the time and wanted to play the game, there was no way of getting anybody to play with you. Well, there just seems to be this thing going that if it hasn't been done well, you can just reskin the game, make it look different, and then sell it again. And we've seen this before with Old Game Studios earlier this same year. Now, obviously, DNS and Dead Horde with Primal Fears, all this has happened before Old Games Studios, I think that's what they're called. Yeah, it's Old Game Studios did this, but Old Game Studios developed a game called God Mode. And I don't know, I never played the game, but what I saw of video footage from the game, it wasn't very impressive. The person making the video, who again was Total Biscuit, first time he played the game, everything just crashed and locked up on him. The second game he tried to play, the server froze up and everything quit responding, but he could still move around within the environment. It didn't look very interesting. It didn't feel very interesting, in my honest opinion. And he was right. It just was not put together very well. Then they came out less than 3 months later. They came out with another game called Rest in Peace Department, the game, based off of the movie. In both situations, the games weren't received well, and it was because the developers simply took their old game, gave it a new look, and then cranked it back out onto the market. What you are watching right now is my debut video recording of the most, and as far as I know, only interesting level in Dead Horde. And which level is it, would you ask? Would it be maybe level 6 or level 7? No. It is level 1. The very beginning of the game. After this level, they tend to get more crowded and a lot shorter, with more bosses, less room for high payload weapons like grenades and rocket launchers, so that means you hit yourself far more often than that. And yeah, it just gets worse and worse. There's also this self-replicating loop algorithm that they use to calculate the score, which starts causing severe drops in frames per second and makes it harder to avoid the rest of the monsters. And as each of these battles gets bigger and bigger in these smaller and smaller arenas, the checkpoints start disappearing. There are no checkpoints at any stage of these arena fights. It's you start the fight, you go through the fight, there's a checkpoint at the end. But if you die in between, then you have to start that arena battle all over, and it just gets longer and longer and longer with more boss fights and more chances for you to die. And health drops very rarely occur in all of this. I don't know, it just seems that DNS just doesn't care much for their image. If you look at the website for Dead Horde, it is very minimal in every aspect. There's only a couple of pieces of concept art for the banner at the top, and one of them is the cover art that they used for the game on Steam. You follow a few links, and most of the pages barely have a scroll bar. If you compare it to, say, Ronimo's website for the Awesome Knots, the lack of care and support shows through hard on Dead Horde and all of DNS's projects. I mean, all in all, the things that DNS has been producing up to date have been rather disappointing, and I am not interested in any more of their future titles. This level in particular, like I said, it is the most interesting. You have a vehicles section later. There's later another point where you have to do a little bit of a puzzle to get past a barricade, and the way you get past it is you have to navigate a forklift into that slot. But the problem is the only time you see any of this stuff is right here in the first level. They don't do anything later. All you do after that is you're just running around backwards, spraying bullets with whatever you can get on your hands on, just spraying lead behind you, and trying to take out as many of the hordes that are swarming you as you can. And it gets very repetitive and, in all honesty, quite boring. And not only that, but the levels keep getting shorter and shorter. I haven't even been able to play through all of the levels because I've been stuck on one area for over a year, and I can't get through that area. So, yeah, all in all, DNS Development, yeah, I'm not very much impressed with any of their real projects. Yeah, there's just nothing that ever seems like it's worthwhile in what they do. I don't know if that's actually the case, or if it's just been bad for most of their previous titles, and now they're just trying to crank things out to crank things out. But, yeah, I don't know. All in all, everything that DNS has produced up to date has been rather disappointing, and I don't think I'm going to be drawn to any of their future titles. So, yeah, I'll let the rest of the video play through so you can kind of watch it, so you can see the vehicle sequences and everything. And thanks for watching the channel. I plan to do reviews of single-player titles, and then if you want me to actually do active Let's Plays, I will only be doing those of multiplayer titles. Ones like Half-Life 2 Deathmatch, or Dota-style games like League of Legends, or Awesome Knots, or so forth and so on. I'll be doing Let's Plays of those, but I do not plan to be doing any Let's Plays of actual single-player titles. And if you want to catch what comes up next, subscribe to the channel. If you like what I'm doing, please feel free to hit the like button. If you have any feedback, drop a comment below the video, and I'll be seeing you next time.